Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today's deck is going back a little bit in time. We're actually going back to Forgotten Realms when it was in Standard, and this is one of the few legendary creatures that I really didn't cover back then in the day. But I've gone back to it, I've picked one up, and we're going to talk about it from an MTGO point of view. Just a reminder that all my videos are based around MTGO, so some of the cards are expensive in real life. Some of the cards on MTGO are really cheap. So just bear that in mind when you're watching these. There's been a few comments recently about, oh, these are too expensive to build in real life. Yes, I know that. I don't expect you to build some of these in real life. These are really for me playing when I'm doing the streaming on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and usually on a Sunday afternoon over in the UK. So, come down below, come and find the link, give me a follow on Twitch as well. But, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here today. So, this deck today is a interesting creature type. It's not one that it's one that's never been seen before in Magic until this set came out, and it is one of the biggest, baddest things you can actually face when you're actually playing the original D&D. If you're playing the pen and paper game with the miniatures, it's one of the most dangerous creatures you can face at the time. So, without further ado, here's my take on Xanathar Guild Kingpin for 4 blue and black, legendary creature Beholder. Really scary in D&D. If you're playing D&D and you face a Beholder, kill it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have a TPK, total party kill. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt, both as a player and as a DM. So, what does this creature do? Well, it's 6 mana for a 5/6. Doesn't have any haste, doesn't have flying, doesn't have any kind of evasion. No, it's not got ward or anything else. But it does have an interesting ability. And at the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until the end of turn, that player can't cast spells, and you may look at the top card of their library at any time. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as if it were mana of any colour to cast spells this way. So basically, being a Kingpin means you can go and nick stuff off the top of your opponent's libraries and play their cards. Can't complain about that. You can nick a land. Well, no, you can't nick a land. It's got to be a spell. Sorry. So anything that's on top of their library, you can play because your mana counts as mana of any colour to do it. So, how are we going to play this in Commander? Well, my take on it is this. You're going to go for it and you're going to try and nick as much stuff as you can from your opponents and annoy them by killing the stuff you can't steal or bouncing it away again. So, let's talk about the lands. We've got some of the gates in, so Black Dragon Gate, Blighted Fens in, so they can sacrifice creatures. Cabal Coffers is in this deck. It's a no-brainer in this deck at all. Because down the bottom here, we have Urborg. And that's going to make everything you have in play a swamp. And, you're only playing 2 colour decks. Cabal Coffers is really good. Hence why we've got Cabal Stronghold as well. If you're going to have one version, you might as well have the other one. Coffers is obviously better than Stronghold because it costs less. But the upside is that Stronghold does actually tap for a colourless mana if you need it to, which is something Cabal Coffers doesn't do. The rest of the lands are what you expect to see. Command Tower, Dimir Aqueduct, Guildgate, Backwater, Drowned Catacomb. You name it, they're in here. Obviously Fabled Passage, Field of the Dead's in here, Ice Tunnel, so on and so forth. Any dual lands I had kicking around went in. One thing I do want to pick out, just because I expect people are asking about it, is why Field of Runes in here. There's the occasional annoying land turning up at the moment, hence why I've played Field of Rune in this deck. I wouldn't recommend it normally, but since this is a 2-colour deck, I think we can get away with it in here. Obviously, if you've got a Wasteland in your MTGO collection, which is something I don't have, or if you've got a Wasteland in real life when you're looking at building this deck, take it out, put Wasteland in. As for the ramp, we have got a commander that is 6 mana. Yes, it's only a blue and a black and 4, but it's still 6 mana, and it gets killed once, goes up to 8, gets killed twice, goes up to 10, so on and so forth. So we had to go a little bit heavier on the ramp than what I would normally do. So, to that end, we've got Mox Tantalite, we've got Mana Crypt, we've got Mana Vault, we've got Soul Ring, we've got Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Sky Diamond, Thought Vessel, Skyclave Relic. I've really gone a little bit overboard with the mana production, but I figured we need it with this deck to make sure that we can keep it on board and keep things going. Beyond that, then we've just got some interesting creatures where we can, kill stuff, go and blow things up, nick stuff from your opponents, so on and so forth. So, how's this going to work? So, Brainstorm, just so we can make sure the top of our library is sorted out. Fatal Push to just kill anything that's annoying us, that's small and early. You know, Lotus Cobra springs to mind, Llanowar Elf, Birds of Paradise, things that ramp early, later in the game, anything that's a bit bigger obviously gets taken out by this. Viscera Seer I've put in, so if we do end up nicking people's creatures, which we might do in some cases with this deck, there's a couple of cards in here, as you can probably see, that take creatures. If they try and get those creatures back, you can just sack them off to the Seer and get a little scry out of it. They may be able to get them back from their graveyard, but the chances are they won't be able to. I've also included Expedition Map, mainly because I want to be able to go and search Cabal Coffers or Stronghold. If I've got one of these in play, I want to go and find my Urborg. So that's why this is in here. It's one of the few artifacts that lets you go and find any land instead of just a basic land, so bear that in mind. It's worth picking one up if you haven't got one already. Likewise, Sensei's Divining Top's in this deck just so I can manipulate the top of my library so I know what I've got coming. We've got a little bit of control with Counterspell, Mana Drain. Cyclonic Rift obviously bounces everything back when you overload it, and that's what you'd be aiming to do with this deck. Go for the throats here as well to blow up the stuff that's going to annoy us. Priest of the Forgotten Realms, another way to sacrifice any creatures we do snick to get a card and some mana. Baleful Strix just replaces itself, but Flying Death Touch is quite useful at the moment in the environment. Jace Beleren, so I decided to go with Party Jace, because if you play Party Jace early, people tend to leave you alone, or leave Jace alone, and so, you know, because you're usually doing the +2 to help them draw stuff out. We're not going for the mill ability here, it's pointless. But people tend to leave Jace alone, I've noticed, hence why I tend to try and play him where I can. But we have got some interesting other things to take out creatures with. Demon's Disciple, Fleshbag Marauder are in, because why not play them, make people sacrifice creatures. You know, you're going to sacrifice this 9 times out of 10 when it comes into play, so you might as well have it in. I've put in Mogus as Marauder as well, because we do have quite a lot of black in the deck that's going to be in play and on the table, and giving everything Menace and, well, sorry, Intimidate and Haste seemed like a really good plan to me, just to get through that damage we may need. Hence why Nantuko Husk is in here. It's another way of sacrificing stuff that we'll be stealing away from our opponents. I've got a couple of mass removals, so I've put Bontu's Last Reckoning, Damnation and Crux of Fate in the deck, because they just do the job we need them to do and blow the board up, hence why they're here. Skyclave Relic I talked about in the ramp. Archmage of Emeritus, we do have some instants, we do have some sorceries. Let's draw some cards when we play them, and if they want to waste a kill spell on a 2/2, I'm more than happy for them to do that in this deck entirely. Likewise, Whisper, Blood of Lurgus is here as well. Liturgist, I don't know. I'm not sure how you say it. You can all tell me in the comments. But it's another way of sacrificing creatures we've nicked from our opponents. Tezzeret for the mana generation more than anything else. Occasionally we'll use the -2. It would be nice to get to the -7, but this deck isn't really built around artifacts. I just chucked it in because I wanted some way to ramp. Because obviously we don't have green, we don't have Dockside Extortionist in this deck. This gives us a little bit of ramp every turn. Yes, it doesn't protect itself very well, but by the time you play it, I'm hoping that you will be at a point where you don't need to worry about it and you'll just be making extra mana. Aetherflux Reservoir is an interesting one. I figured I needed a way of gaining some life, and we do have a reasonable amount of cheap spells in here eventually, and getting over 50 life is going to be difficult, but it might keep us in the game. If we get over 50 life and manage to kill one of our opponents, all well and good with it, but that's not the aim. It's here just to gain some life in black or blue. Likewise, Aetherworks Marvel, we're going to be sacking stuff off. It's going to be going to the graveyard. We're going to get energy counters. It helps us get through the deck and shores up some of the issues we may have around getting some of the bigger creatures into play. As you can see, this is quite a top end heavy deck for a change for me. It's usually the other way around for my decks, but yeah. Lithoform Engine, just to copy some of the triggered abilities, or copy the permanent spells. If we're nicking things, we might want to copy them, you know. We're nicking things for Mind Flayer, Temporal Agent of Treachery, Kiga. Now, what we would do with Lithoform is copy Mind Flayer and Agent of Treachery if we can, and obviously then copy the triggered ability when Kiga dies and nick something else from our opponents, hence why it's here. I put Tamiyo in just so we got a little bit of defense, tap things down as they're attacking us, so it seemed like a reasonable explanation to me as why we'd wanted to do that. Temporal Manipulation along with Temporal Mastery, just so we can take the extra turns and nick some more stuff, or just use Xanathar a bit more to get some extra things off our opponent's libraries if we see something we like the look of we want to play. Grey Merchant of Asphalt is the other way of getting some life back. Like I say, we do have a lot of things in the deck that have black as their main mana symbol that will stay in play. So a little bit of devotion will be in play, and hopefully we'll gain a few life. It's quite nice because it drains each opponent. So even if you've got this in play, you're going to drain, if you still got all three players in play, you're going to drain each of them for 2 and you're going to gain 6. So bear that in mind when you're playing around this. Junji's in because why not? I couldn't think of a good reason not to play it, and I couldn't think of a good reason to play it, but I'll put it in anyway. A little bit of 5/5 flying in the air and menace is really hard to deal with, so it does tend to get through it. It tends to attract a removal. Ashiok Nightmare Muse is in. I haven't played the other version of Ashiok. I don't really like it, but I quite like this one because of the 2/3 Nightmare creature we get, so we might as well have this in as well. Eloise Nephilim Sleuth for the... because creatures will be dying, we can investigate. The card draw's nice, and when we sacrifice a token, we get to surveil 1. So it seems like a reasonable plan to me, especially if we can nick something that produces lots of treasures or tokens and so on and so forth with Xanathar. So it seems like a reasonable plan. Extract from the Darkness was a card I picked up in a Double Masters draft I did a while back. And I quite liked it in the deck, so I thought I'll pick one up on MTGO and see how it goes. I haven't played it yet, but I think it's a bit of a laugh. You know, each player mills 2, then you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under control. Yeah, why not? Let's nicking people's creatures again. Part of what we're trying to do with the deck. Likewise, Scarab Gobs here. Exiling creatures from their graveyard, getting tokens of them. Why not? Let's do it. Kiga I've talked about. Royal Elemental is another way of nicking someone's creatures. Hopefully we can keep Royal Elemental in play, but I have discovered this is the biggest target. It just like says, hit me with every bit of removal from Shock all the way up to Terror to Casualties or anything else. It just tends to attract power. But at the end of the day, if we can play a land, nick something, and then sacrifice it off to one of, Viscera Seer or the Nantuku Husk would benefit from that anyway. I've chucked in Ever After, just so we can bring the creatures back from the graveyard. And they become zombies as well. But, and this goes to the bottom of our library when we cast it. So we're always going to be able to have this in our deck, which is really nice, unless it gets milled away by some weird chance. I've put the Debaser in as well. I quite like this card. With the Encore is a little bit higher 8, I agree. But having it come into play and attack, assuming you can make it attack, and it survives the turn to get to the attack step, then you're going to be able to nick things from people's graveyards, and you really want that to happen. Even if they do kill it before you get to the attack step, when you encore it, those creatures get haste, and you're getting, however many opponents you've got, that's how many creatures you get. They attack each opponent, so you're going to nick something from each player's graveyard, which, seems like a really good plan to me. Bolas' Citadel. Yeah, haven't played it in the Commander deck for a while. This is black-blue. We want to be taking stuff. We want to be playing as much stuff as we can off the top of our library. And at the end of the day, if we can tap it and sacrifice 10 permanents we don't care about and get every opponent down by 10 life, that could win us the game later in the thing. It's one of the reasons that I am playing Aether Flux Reservoir, because it does combo quite nicely if you remember from Standard. And likewise with the Grey Merchant, you do gain the life when you play it off the top. Hopefully you've got 6 life when you get this on top and Bolas' Citadel's in play. Ashiok, Sculptor of Fears, is coming, just so we could draw the card really and mill a couple of cards from each player. And nice, the -5 is also quite nice, where you get a creature card from a graveyard into play under our control, hence why it's here. Likewise, Dragonlord Silumgar here, nick what we can from our opponents. And Mindslaver. Let's do it. We're going to be nicking stuff. We're going to be nicking stuff with Xanathar, so we might as well take someone's entire turn off them as well and just upset them. Agent of Treachery I've mentioned. Temporal Mastery I've mentioned. Blatant Thievery. Yep, we're going to nick even more stuff with this. 7 mana, go and get a permanent from each player. Seems like a really good plan. Likewise, Kalitas is in to destroy the creatures and get... If the creature dies this way, create a black vampire creature token. Its power is equal to that creature's power, and its toughness is equal to that creature's toughness. Yeah, kill something on the board, get it back, get a vampire version of it back under our control. Hence why Shadow Dread's in here. I'm playing a black deck. Shadow Dread's a bit of a no-brainer at this stage. Memnarch is something that's usually actually the commander. You see a lot of blue artifact decks with Memnarch at the top end of it. I've decided to play in here just so we can nick stuff. There are things you want to nick. 4 mana, if you can nick someone else's soul ring, their mana crypt, whatever, you get to keep control of it. Even if Memnarch dies, you still get to keep that permanent under your control. So it seems like a reasonable plan. The last few cards in the deck, we've got Clone Legion in, just so we can, for each creature target player controls, create a token copy of it. So if you're up against some of the Dragon decks that are running riot around a Commander at the moment, I think until the Commander decks for Warhammer 40k came out, Mirren was like number 1, number 2 on EDH Rec, and yeah, that's still being played quite a lot. Cloning all those dragons, having your own copy seemed like a really good plan to me. The last few, I'll just talk about Temple Trespass. Yeah, it's just there so we can just basically delve some of the stuff away we don't need and just get the extra turn. Maybe this could be better as something else, but I haven't got anything else, so I decided to put it in this slot. Repeals here, just so we can bounce anything that's annoying us and draw a card. Likewise, Astral Cornucopia. I forgot it was down the end of the deck because obviously it's triple X. It's still a ramp card, hence why it's here. But that's it. That's my little take on Xanathar. I hope you've enjoyed this little deck tech. If there's anything I've missed, let me know down below in the comments. I do respond to all the comments that people leave on the videos. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Come and give me a follow on Twitch. You can find that down below in the comments as well, so go and track that one down while I move my finger around there. Look, wee. But I hope you've enjoyed this deck tech, and hopefully you'll come and chat to me on stream when I'm streaming. So I stream round about between 7:30 and 8 o'clock UK time. So what, between 4:30 and 3 on the east coast of the States. If you're further over, I can't work out Pacific Standard Time in my head at the moment. But yeah, you could work it over there. I tell you, it's 8 p.m. So like 7:30, 8 p.m. UK time. You can come and see me then. But I do that on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, and on a Sunday I tend to stream in the afternoon in the UK, which is early morning for most people across the other side of the pond. Maybe a little bit mid-afternoon for the people across the other side of the English Channel and the North Sea. But anyway, hopefully you'll come and see me on Twitch. I really hope you do. We're trying to build up a community there. Come and give me a follow on Twitch. I give you access to our nice little Discord channel we have as well, where we spend all our time talking about the Commander deck. So that's it from this video. Thanks for watching it for the 17 minutes I've been talking, 17 minutes and a few seconds, and hopefully I'll catch you soon on the stream. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.